So for today, we're going to start with this. Just distribute this thing for me. That's all you got to do. That problem. Get it written down. Distribute it. Notability doc. That is not a blank notability doc. Okay. All you got to do is the 2x and the 8. That's it. 2x plus 8. That's it. I know some people think we're solving an equation. Do you see any equals up here? Is there any equals? You see any equals? No. Then all you got to do is this. 2x plus 8. That's it. Okay. Now what if it said equals 10? Well then, yeah, you'd have to like subtract 8 and divide by 2, but there was no equals. There was no equals. It's just distributing. All right. So that's a big part of today is understanding when you just multiply it out and when you solve it. So here's another one that is very similar. Equals 0. This one you distribute and you solve it. Two times x, 2x, 2 times negative 3, negative 6, and it equals 0. If you're not good at like 2 times negative 3 in your head, have the calculator ready to go because you're going to need to be able to just seamlessly multiply things like that. And if you have a calculator on your desk, that'd be smart. All right. Then you should know to add 6 because this kind was equals, and this kind needs to be solved. 2x equals 6, x equals, well, let's divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals 3. Raise your hand if you had x equals 3. Awesome. All right. Now, I want you to look back at the original equation here. Very late, sir. I'm glad you're here, but I'm noting you hear it. 9:09. All right. So, if you had looked close, do you get you could have known that 3 would have made this part equal to 0 and 3 was the answer? Coincidence? No. You can solve them that way. You know how we came out with 3 at the end? You could have just looked here and saw what would make this part equal 0. All right, let me show you what I mean. Don't even write this down. Just look. For x minus 1 equals 0, and I already know the answer. I'm done. X equals 1. Because look, if I make 1 go here, do you get the whole thing will equal 0? Because 4 times 0 is 0. You see how fast that is? Do you like being able to get the answer super quick? I do. So you don't have to multiply it out and solve it the whole way. You could just figure out what makes this part equal 0. So do it the fast way this time. I already know the answer. Do you know the answer? Hold on a second. We're recording a video. I'll pause a second. Okay, do you get you wouldn't have even had to write it down? You just had to ask yourself, what makes this part 0? And what makes that part 0? Wouldn't 9 make that part 0? So the answer is going to be 9. Here, I'll prove it to you. 8x minus 72 equals 0. Add 72 to both sides. And this is going to be really slow comparatively. 8x equals 72. Divide both sides by 8. And look at that. It's 9. And I could have known it right there. Has anybody ever showed you that before? Maybe not. See how fast that is? All right. Did you know it also works for this? You could do this the really slow way and multiply it all the way out. Got 4 parts to your answer. It'd be x squared minus 7x plus 12. and then use the quadratic formula on it. Or you could just figure out what makes this part 0. 3. What makes this part 0? 4. So your answers are 3 and 4. You see how fast that is? It works. Because like, if you don't understand what I mean if I stick in a 3 in the equation, I put it here and I put it here, this part's 0. Doesn't even matter what that is. If this part's 0, then the whole thing will equal 0. Because 0 times anything is 0. See how fast that is? All right, so x minus 5, x plus 7. Don't do all the really hard, slow work of multiplying it all the way out. That would be super pokey. Just tell me what the 2 answers is. Don't even write the problem down. You'd be wasting time. Just write down the 2 answers. X equals and x equals. Please write them down. Actually, take a second. Write down the answers to this. X equals this and x equals that. Please compare it to the kid next to you and see if you got the same thing. Sam? He needs a partner. Did you get x equals 5 and x equals negative 7? Those are the things that make it 0. And by the way, cool side note, they're also the x-intercepts of the equation. I taught you this, a dot that's like over here, that's on the x-axis, so that's called an x-intercept. You remember that from the other day? I taught it to you for the video, but hopefully you paid attention. And then over here is another x-intercept. It's the place where it hits x, and that says x equals negative 7. I'm just taking these 2 answers right here, and I'm putting them on the graph. So my parabola would have gone like that, and those are its x-intercepts. From the picture, it's really obvious. The places that it hits x, those are x-intercepts. What's this green dot down here? It's a vertex, and it's the y-intercept. Touches the y-axis. And by the way, you remember how you had to write them? The x-intercepts have y equal to 0. So negative 7 comma 0. X-intercepts, y equals 0. Y-intercept, on the other hand, has x equal to 0. So this one would be like 0 comma, because it's a y-intercept, so its x is 0. And it's negative for sure because it's going down, but I don't know how far it is. I actually do know it's negative 35, which I know seems like I made that up. But if I want the y-intercept, I can stick in x is 0, and then the negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. That's how I got that. All right, so from yesterday, all you were supposed to be able to do is this. I give you this, and you're supposed to know that dotted line's called the what of what? Axis of symmetry. Yes, line of symmetry would have also been okay. Axis or line of symmetry. And this dot here, what's that called? Vertex. If these things aren't coming natural to you, you got to write them down, and then you can look back on it later. Those two are called the what's? X-intercepts. And then where this thing would have finally touched the y, if I extend the u up, and it finally touches like right there, then that's the y-intercept. X-intercepts, y-intercept. Vertex, line of symmetry or axis of symmetry. And that's like at x equals 4, for example. It's a dotted line that goes up and down, and it's always x equals for an axis of symmetry. All right, so that's a little review of yesterday. So how did I start today? I started today with this, and I just said, if there's no equals, you would just distribute. Super easy. If there's an equals, you could distribute, but there's a faster way. Do you get how it was just negative 8? Remember that from before? Okay. Then I went on to say, you could even have 2 parentheses. And you could get the two answers, super simple. 7 and 5, done. They can be that easy. Those are x-intercepts. Remember, if you're typing them into Schoology, then the x-intercepts are where y is 0. So 5 comma 0 and 7 comma 0. That's how you write an x-intercept, because it's y is 0. X-intercept, because it's y is 0. All right. Then there's only one thing left for the lesson for today. Is every now and then, you have to multiply things like this out. But wait. Kids get a question like this, and they feel like they totally got it, and they're like, okay, so the answers are x equals 5, and x equals positive 8. Nope. I know somebody in this room is going to do that on the test. They're going to think they got the two answers, and they're 5 and 8. And that's wrong. 5 works, because look, try putting it in. Do you get that equals 0? 5 was good. 8 does not work. Watch what happens when you put in an 8 right here. Does it really make this whole thing equal 0? No, it's 16 minus 8. So how do you do this kind then? It'd be 4. Because look, 2 times 4 would be 8 minus 8 is 0. Now how did he get that 4? Because he's really smart? Yeah, but could you have gotten it another way? You could have just said, I want this whole thing to equal 0. And then you would solve that little equation, and you'd realize pretty quick 2x equals 8. Oh, I guess x has to be 4. See, I can get it pretty quick if I make a little equation for that. So here is the hardest kind like that. Everybody copy this down. 3x minus 6 and 2x plus 1 equals 0. Not so easy to just go, oh, I know the answers are 1, like -1 and 3 or something like that. It's not that easy this time. So what you do is you make an equation. 2x plus 1, I want it to be 0. And this one, 3x minus 6, I want it to equal 0. And then if you can't solve those two equations, you haven't learned Algebra 1. Add 6 to both sides, subtract 1. Go ahead and do it. Solve these two equations. They're two-step equations. These have to be like the back of your hand. Copy these two equations down. Music, tell me how to solve that blue equation.
You're going to add 2 to the x.
Wait, the blue equation?
Yeah.
You're going to add 2?
To the x. You're going to add 6.
There we go. Add 6, add 6. And now I got 3x equals 6. And then, what's the final answer?
2x.
X equals 2. Zariah, how do I solve the red equation? Minus 1, minus 1. 2x equals -1. Divide 2, divide 2. X equals -1/2. So, when they're harder, and they don't just jump out at you like, oh, the answer's 7. Just make a little equation and set it equal to 0. All right, so here's one that is absolutely fair game for the test. One easy one. One harder one. Solve. It's got 2 answers. You should probably already know one of them. I can just stick a 4 right there and know that 4 works. It makes the equation equal 0. So 4 is one of my answers. Because there is a 1 here, yes. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Look, I put in a 4. This equals 0. What makes this equal to 0? I can do it in my head. 4. Very good. And if I didn't know how to do it in my head, here's what I'd do. Equals 0, and then I'd add 8, 2x equals 8, and then x must be 4. I can see 2 times 4 is 8, right? So x equals 4. Those are my two answers. 4 and 4? Yes, you can have the same answer twice. All right. The last thing you have to know is how to double distribute. This, don't even write this, please. Just watch. That's rare for me to say that. This is a regular distribute. 2x plus 16. Why aren't you solving it? Because it doesn't equal anything. Done. I just do that. Just multiply it out. But this is a double distribute. When I have like x plus 2 and x plus 8, then I have to not only distribute the 2 part, which I already did, you also distribute the x. Now, some of you would like to do this with a thing called FOIL. Go ahead. Do it with FOIL. If you already know FOIL, yay. But this is the easier way to teach it, is like, it's just like distributing twice. So if I got you to be able to do this easy, yeah, it's 2x plus 8 times 2 is 16. That's all. Then when I put an x here, it should still be easy. X times x, x squared, I'm putting it in front. And the x times the 8 is 8x. I'm putting it in the middle. Because these two can add together because they like terms. X squared plus 10x plus 16. Do you get what I just did? That is FOIL, or just distributing twice. It's really, really, really important. Man, there's some of these things that like are the foundation of your next test. This is the foundation of your next test. Like on our last test, I was telling you, you had to know how to graph. And if you look at one of these tests, I don't want to hold some of these up because I don't want to get their grade away, so I'll take a blank with me. Like I warned you there'd be a ton of graphing. And then look, graph, 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 graph. So I warned you there'd be a ton of graphing. This time, I'm warning you, there's a ton of this. Multiplying it all out, you've got to get this down. So here's another one. Everybody write this one down, please. X minus 1, parentheses, x plus 7. Multiply that out. You can start with either one, but if you do the x first, then do both of the x multiplies. X times x is not 2x. I know somebody's doing that. X times x is x squared. And again, I apologize for those of you that are like, come on, we learned this 2 years ago. You're right. But some kids have forgot. I know because I see their papers. Some kids have forgot how to do this. 7 times x is 7x. Now I got to distribute the negative 1 to both parts. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. And this is perfect, except there's two things that are alike. Asen, what are the like terms here? Those guys. And then the final answer then would be x squared and 6x, and the minus 7 comes down. Good. That's it. Why am I not solving it? Because there's no equals. If there was an equals, then I would like go to solve this thing. I don't have to solve it. This is it. This is called standard form. Okay. I need to know. How many of you had that without my help? You got that. You got that one right. All right. We're up to most kids. If you didn't get it, think of it as two separate problems. Distribute the x like that and like that, and distribute the negative 1 like that and like that. All right. So, last melon. you've got this answer, and they're going to ask you to type it into Schoology. You need 3 numbers. But there's no number in front of this. Then what number is there? And half the class last hour said 0. No, it's not 0. What is it? 1. There's a 1 there. So then your 3 numbers you put in as 1 goes in front of x squared. What goes in front of the x? 6. And then the last number is, even though it has a plus here, you'd go minus 7. That goes there. Because do you get that if you say plus minus 7, you really mean minus 7? In case you didn't know that, if there's both signs, it means minus. All right, so imagine you're at the end of a problem and you had this. The Schoology is going to say, what do you want in front of x squared? What do you want in front of x? And what's the last number? Dylan, what is in front of x squared?
1,
2. What is in front of the x?
3.
And what's the last number? That's all you got to do. So that's how you have to type them into Schoology. All right. Now, there is a sheet that says scratch work here. Because you don't want to try to do these from a Schoology quiz all in your head and like try to do it all in your head. There's no way. You have to do it out on paper first, and then you type your answers in the Schoology. Okay? So open the file in today's notes. Not notes, sorry. In today's folder. Find the folder for today. Find the thing that says scratch work here. That's where you do the problems out. And then you type them into Schoology in the Schoology quiz later. Jack, read me number 1 on the page that is where you're supposed to do it like on paper.
F of x equals x minus 4.
In a parenthesis?
Yep.
Okay.
And then in a parenthesis, x minus 5.
And do they want us to find the things that make it equal 0? Because that's totally different than multiplying it all out. I don't know. What does it say to do?
It says x intercepts question.
Oh, wait. If it wants the x-intercepts, then that's this kind, where the answer is 4 and 5. Do you remember that kind? That finds you the x-intercepts. But how do I type in the x-intercepts? You never just type in a number. Like, seriously, the answer is almost never just a number. So if I want the x-intercepts, you type it like this. There's your first answer. Go ahead, type it in. Or at least write it in, and you can type it in later into the Schoology quiz. This one. It's 5, 0. There's your 2 x-intercepts. But, Jack, there must be more to the question than just that. Maybe not.
It says, the thing down there, it says f of x equals blank x squared.
Oh, one of these things. Blank x squared.
Yeah.
So they want to know what... Oh, so they basically want me to multiply this thing out. Like one of those, like we just practiced a second ago. So, first, to find the x-intercepts, you figure out what makes it equal 0. Because remember, the x-intercepts are where this y, remember f of x is like y, where y is 0. That whole thing is 0 when this is 4 and this is 5. And then the other part of the question, you have to multiply it out. X times x, x squared. X times the -5, -5x. -4 times the x, -4x. Add -4 times the -5, positive, because it's a negative times a negative, 20. I know some of you guys are going to be using your calculator a lot, because -4 times -5 is hard for you. I get it. Then get the calculator out. And then that is what you're gonna use to get the answer for this. But wait, Asen, these two can be combined, so what's your middle number? Yep. So my three numbers that I'm gonna put in here, here, and here are 1, because remember, if there's no number in front of an x, then there's a 1 in front of the x. -9 and 20. 1, -9. And I think that there's no plus sign, so you're supposed to put in doesn't it say like you gotta remember to make it negative or positive? I think that's in the directions. So I suppose this probably has to be +1. I'll actually go look on Schoology and see if you need to have a plus in front of that 1 or not. I'm gonna pause and try that.